That was loud. Welcome to Salcedo Paranormal. Today is Tuesday, February. I am all messed up tonight. March 8th. Let's try that again. 2022. Is that music I was listening to before I started? Messed me all up. Um, and tonight I will be sharing some of my own experiences. I had other plans, but they changed. So that's what we're doing tonight. Of course, to find all episodes of the show, along with links to um, social media, ways to donate, and other uh, ways to contact me, you can visit the podcast page, which is salsidoparanormal.podbean.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.podbean.com. And always looking to hear from you all, whether you have comments or questions or topic suggestions for episodes, or you have stories of experiences to share, whether they're your own or others that you trust. Always happy to feature them on the show. You can either send them in a text format, or if you would like to join me on the show to talk about those experiences, we can arrange that as well. It looks like what I'm thinking of doing today and tomorrow is just sharing some more experiences that I've touched on before, here and there, but never really gone into in great detail. So that's what I'm thinking of doing for today and tomorrow, just for a little break from the research that I've been doing for everything. But and hopefully you all will enjoy these episodes anyway. Thank you all for being here. I see you all there in chat, and also thank you all for listening, whether you're in the live chat or you listen to the podcast or YouTube feeds. I appreciate all of you being here for the show however you can and whenever you can. So this is a fairly easy one to just get into. Like I said, this is going to be about some of my experiences and others around me. But to get started, I have to go into a little bit of a backstory. My parents divorced when I was really little. I don't remember a lot about it. Really not. As far as memory goes back, they've always been. It's always been. They've always been. Um, and then they both got remarried, and to other people. Well, not remarried. Married to other people. Excuse me. At some point, and so of course over the years I would go back and forth between houses. Just to see both of my parents, and the experiences I'm going to talk about tonight take place in the house that was my dad and my then stepmom's house, and of course it's this happened some years ago now. Let me see here. The 90s to, let's say, maybe the early 2000s. I believe around that time. So the house was a decent sized house, and it's really interesting because in the daytime, a lot of things didn't always happen. It wasn't like a movie where it was things happening all the time. It was just little things here and there. I'll go over some of my first experiences there, and then I'll get into some other ones that other people had there. So one of the first things I noticed there was on 3 or 4 different times, I'd be alone in the house. I would know I was alone in the house, because over the years I'd visit there, and this was in my teens to early 20s when I'd go over there. Sometimes when I would go and visit family, whoever I was visiting in the family, even once I got older and into to basically being an adult, I would still stay with them to visit for a number of days at a time because they always had to be the one to come and get me and then take me home. So, because I'm legally blind, so I don't drive except for in video games. And so on one of these visits over there, I was getting ready. The first time this happened, I was getting ready to go from. I can't remember if I was going back to my mom's or to my place. I don't remember when exactly this happened. I'm terrible with remembering dates of things. But my dad and my then stepmom had left the house to go and run an errand, and then once I got back, my dad was going to take me to drop me off wherever I was going. And so I was in the house alone. I was packing up a laptop that I had at the time, and I started hearing these sounded like two voices. It was either young. I don't think it was little kids, but maybe 10, age range of like 10 to maybe like young teenager. And it sounded like almost like girls' voices. I can't say for sure, but I could just hear them whispering and laughing, but I could never make out what they were saying. And it was coming from the stairwell leading to the second floor. Interesting thing about that stairwell, whenever I go over there to visit, most of the time I would always feel my eyes drawn to that stairwell. It was always like there was someone standing there on the steps and looking down at everyone and watching. Nothing bad, just felt that. And nothing there ever really felt bad. It did, who or whatever was there would give off a strong presence, I would say, at times, but nothing really bad. But anyway, so I heard this whispering, and I knew I was there alone. And so I just, at this point, this was years after my first experiences, and so I was kind of, I was unsettled, but I didn't feel like running from the house. I mean, this is after, like I said, my first experiences at my cousin's house, my aunt and uncle's house, which were a lot, at least at the time, they were a lot scarier. So, but anyway, I was packing things up, getting ready to go, and of course, eventually the voices stopped, and it was not long after that that my dad and then stepmom came back, and then of course went home. But I told them about that, and they thought it was interesting. And I'll get to these other experiences, but my half sister and then also the stepmom at the time had their own experiences here and there too that I'll get into a little bit from what I remember them saying. So let me see here. I'm looking at the chat. APOC says, "Oh, I'm sorry, not APOC says. I was at the wrong level." Can says, "I felt the same way about the upstairs that I told you about." So I'm guessing that's in the 100th episode where Can called in. I always just felt uneasy up there. Interesting. Yeah, it's not that it was ever evil. It definitely felt like I was not alone. So, oh, interesting. So APOC says, I got it right this time. APOC says, a friend and I heard voices outside of our house all the time. Couldn't understand words, but it happened all the time. No one was outside. Interesting. This happened inside, which I don't know. It was odd. So anyway, this happened, and like I said, time went on. I came back there at some point to visit, and it happened again. I was alone in the house. Everyone was outside of the house at the time. I don't remember now doing what, but I know it was not in the winter. I think they were outside working on doing just different chores around the house. And I apologize if you're hearing sirens outside or the heater. But so I was inside the house. I was just getting things in my backpack arranged. And I heard those voices again. This time coming from, I couldn't tell if it was the ventilation system. Oh, good, can't hear him. Ventilation system, or if it was in the room above it, which was actually my sister's room at the time. But I heard these voices again, same kind of thing, just whispering, laughing, whispering, laughing, and yeah, it was just really odd. I didn't know what to make of it, and so I just kind of noted it again and went on with things. Then a couple of times when I was staying in the guest room, I also would hear the voices, but these times they were clearly in the room, but above me, like right below the ceiling, which is really odd. I didn't get any bad feeling from any of it, so I stayed there. I didn't do anything. But yeah, it was just really odd. Let's see here. APOC says it was many voices, 20 plus. Wow. Interesting. So, happened outside of my house too. Interesting. But yeah, so that was like the first thing I remember about that house as far as that kind of stuff goes. So the other thing, let's see here, where do I go here? Okay, so the other thing I think I may have shared in the show before. This was back in the 90s. I remember this because it was my I had my cousin over, and this was after I'd already been going over to his house a lot on the weekends, but our dads were both playing at a local it was like a bar and bowling alley kind of place. Their band, they have a classic rock band they've had now for many years. And so I was able to have my cousin over to stay overnight. And he actually brought a little TV and a little game console. I think it was the original PlayStation at the time. And so we set it up actually on the bed in the bedroom that we were both staying in, guest room. And again, this is after our first experiences. I don't know how many years, but some years after that. And we were sitting there playing at night. It had already gotten dark out. And we started hearing this noise above us and looked up, and a fan had started to turn, like it was someone had turned it on. We didn't hear the click of the chain, but it started like someone had just gently pulled the chain just hard enough or slow enough to where it wouldn't make a noise. And then the fan started going. So, but like I said, at this point we'd already had several experiences over at his house. So we didn't say anything really right away. But we just kept on playing our games and stuff, and then eventually my cousin said, well, maybe we should turn it off, because it wasn't really that warm in there. We didn't need the fan, And so he said that, and then right after he said that, the fan started to slow down, like someone had just turned it off, and it did come to a complete stop. So we decided to leave the room for a little bit and go and see what everybody else was doing. Of course, by that time it was already night, so everyone was already upstairs. So we ended up walking around the house a little bit and didn't like the feeling in the rest of the house. Felt like we were not alone. So we went back to the room and played games until we fell asleep that night. So, and that was another thing about that house, too, that I noticed. If I was there alone, and that didn't happen a lot when I was first there because I was still younger, but one time, at one point, I volunteered to watch the house for my dad and stepmom at the time, and then because they went out somewhere, went on some kind of vacation, And I liked at that point. I was already getting to the point where I liked kind of being alone when I could do it, and so I volunteered to watch the house for them, just stay in the house, and it was fine. But once it got started getting dark outside, it was almost like people just started appearing in the house, not visually, but just a sense of the house getting more and more crowded as it got to be nighttime. And that whole week, I could not. I had to have music or the TV playing once it started to get dark the whole night until I fell asleep, and even as I fell asleep, to kind of keep from getting too freaked out by this feeling. Now it's funny because I kind of like to, like, if there weren't still people in the house, which I believe there are, I would investigate the house. I'd be happy just staying there myself for a while. But at the time, I was still getting used to all this, and I still wasn't interested in looking into it yet. But so yeah, I'm just trying to think of anything else that happened to me directly. So nothing directly else to me happened. That was a weird phrase, but nothing else really happened to me on my own. But I think I was talking a little bit like Yoda there, I guess you'd say. Um, but so I would go over there, of course, for the holidays every year, and my at the time, she was my stepmom at the time. She was big into decorating the house for the holidays and everything. And I basically just stayed out of everyone's way as they were putting things up and getting things arranged and everything. And this one time I was there. She had been in this room off to the side of the living room, which beyond this room, as like a parlor, was the guest room where I would stay. At least at first, and she had been in there getting decorations ready, and she had like a CD player, like a boombox kind of CD player, portable CD player, playing Christmas music in there at the time. And I was sitting in the living room, kind of just reading. At the time, I was still reading physical books. I was reading comic books, and the rest of the family was off doing other things. And eventually, I noticed the music stopped, and but at that point, my stepmom at the time was not in the room when that happened. And eventually, she came back into the room, and they asked who had turned off the music. And none of us had, and I hadn't seen or heard anyone go into that room since she had left that room. Because I was right by the entrance. I was actually facing that way too. And no one had gone in there. And so she tried to get the CD player to keep playing, and it would not play that CD anymore. And so she just stopped and went on to doing other things, and it was almost like someone in there was just tired of that CD. I think it was the one that she played a lot, and yeah, I feel like now that we're looking back on it, I wonder if it was someone that was just like tired of that one and like, okay, we're done with this, no more for now. But it was really odd because no one had gone in there. So there was another time a couple of people saw a shadow. It was at a Christmas party, and we were all in the kitchen. A bunch of us were anyway, and there was we thought we saw a shadow coming towards the door to get into the house. A couple of people did. I didn't see it; was too far away. But but then so we figured someone was coming over because it was kind of one of those open door, just people could come whenever they wanted to, kind of event day things. And no one came in, and there was no sounds from outside. So and so we still don't know what that was. So let's see here. Okay. So yeah, that was a lot of just interesting things in that house. I know that the basement had that stereotypical feeling of I didn't like being in that basement too much, and I believe it was my former stepmom actually saw like figures of men in like work clothes down there just briefly for like a minute when she went down there one time. Um, it's really odd. My sister had um, problems with her devices. They wouldn't always play, and there even one time she tried to get something to work, and it wouldn't work, and I forget if it was just that it wouldn't work or she was trying to get it to stop and it wouldn't, and even some voice said no when she said asked it to do something, or asked basically said out loud to the tech, just to do something, and then some voice came from it and said no. It was like a karaoke kind of thing, which is odd. So a lot of little things happened at that house. Um, so I'm trying to think what else. There was one other time where we were all sitting at the table eating dinner, and um, we heard something in another room fall for no apparent reason. And my dad went to check it out, and it, everybody asked what that was, and I said, well, it sounded like it was just a small empty box of some kind that had fallen. And of course, he came back and he said, yeah, you're right. It's just a small box, a small container that fell. And of course, my ears are sensitive, so um, that was kind of funny. Were there cats? There was one, but it always stayed hidden most of the time, like 99% of the time. Um, yeah, there was one for a while long after I stopped going. There was two. Um, I think the second one was an outdoor cat, but yeah, there were cats. Um, so yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I don't know what the. It could be something to do with maybe there was they were helping to keep things from getting too bad. I don't know, but yeah, there were just certain rooms, like I said, that parlor always gave off a weird vibe to me. Not bad. Again, nothing there was bad. Just a weird feeling. And like I said, and that was even in the daytime a little bit. I didn't like that room a lot. Then the whole house that night would just get that feeling like it was just people were just pouring in, which is really odd. Because I mean, it didn't feel like just one person or two people. It really felt like, and I guess I wonder if there was ever used to be like parties there or something way back when. I think the house was. I'm trying to think. It was over 100 years old or around that age. Um. So, but yeah, it definitely had a weird vibe to it. Um. The whispering to me that was the most interesting thing because it would only start, except for when it was in the bedroom. It would only start when I was there myself. Those couple of times where I heard it in other places. Um. And then when it happened in the room I was staying in, of course, it was just me in that room. So that's really it was almost like a horror movie whispering and laughing, but not quite that extreme. It's really hard to describe because it didn't seem evil, like I said. Um, but yeah, so and like I said, even every time I went there for all those years that I ended up going there for different things, um, yeah, it would have been nice if someone had heard it. But at the point where I had that experience, other people there had other experiences too. So the good thing is, there wasn't any kind of ridicule going on there at all with anyone. What's funny is it was my dad really didn't have any experiences there, but it was all everyone else. He's only had a couple of experiences over the years, so But yeah, it's just really odd. But that basically covers that house. I'm thinking tomorrow I will talk about a couple of the basically all the times I went out on public paranormal investigation events and go with that, and that should be fun. I'm trying to think of if there's anything else I could easily share here tonight. Nothing really about that house. Um, I have been hearing little bumps here and there lately more than I used to, it seems like. And actually, I think we were talking about that in a voice chat the other day. How kind of started after I got my new screens. So that introduction of more energy, or the potential for more energy in my place, and more devices. I think it's possible that could have something to do with it. And then, of course, that dream. Yeah, they want to watch TV. Yeah, that dream I had. I know I covered it on other shows, but I don't know if I covered it here. I don't think I covered it here on my show. That's the only problem with doing other shows or talking about this on other shows, is that I forget what I've covered there and then what I've covered here. That's the only drawback to that. So, but you know what? It's my show, so I'll just share it again here. Um, so a few weeks ago now, that was around that time. I was listening to another show, Troubled Minds Radio, and I fell asleep in my chair in front of my computer, which it's a decent enough chair. It's definitely comfortable enough, and it has a footrest and everything that I can put up if I want to. And so I fell asleep in the chair, and I had this regular dream about a house that I used to live in. It was my mom and mom and her second husband. So my former stepdad at that point, their house. Now it's his house. Years later, and it was just a basic dream. I was just kind of, it was almost out of body like, but it wasn't as realistic. It didn't feel quite as real as what happened after. That faded away, and then I found myself. Oh yeah, it does look like it. Huh. I found myself in the house that my aunt and uncle had years ago, which I do have dreams about that house every once in a while, where it's like an out of body experience. And when so then I had this dream about being there, and I was sitting in the chair in the TV room, and there are people coming and going in front of me, and to the left was this wall with the sliding glass patio door on it, and to the right, people were coming and going, basically through this little opening or doorway. Didn't really have a door, but doorway, leading into the rest of the house. And there were people that I didn't recognize, and no one looked at me. And they were all, none of them were dressed for winter in Michigan. That was all like just regular, single layer, basically, or whatever, just basic clothes. And so they were coming and going, and I just sat there because I didn't recognize anyone. Eventually, the flow stopped. No one came through anymore. And I got up because I was interested, because I felt like, oh, this is realistic. I'm here somehow. And so I got up from the chair and walked around. There was this little footstool or footrest. I guess called an ottoman or something like that, in front of me. And so I walked around that and to the door leading outside. And I slid the door open and looked outside. Now there's a deck outside on the back of the house, big wooden deck, and it had a roof and everything. But I could see figures out in the yard, and then I could see in the sky. What I could see of the sky. At first, I thought it was fireworks, but there were way too many lights for it to be fireworks, and there was no sound coming from the fireworks. And all this time, I'm still hearing a show. I'm still hearing Triple Minds Radio. And from this entertainment center that I had noticed once this experience started. And but I looked outside and I saw all these lights coming down. They weren't quite long streaks that came down, like stretched from the sky to the ground. They were just little segments of light, not dots or circles, but just segments. But it was the sky that I could see was full of them. Like there was hardly any darkness in between them. And I didn't like that. And Mike's a hypnotist, not a robot. Anything's possible. Could be both. I don't know. But and I didn't like these lights for some reason, so I closed the door and turned to look at the entertainment center. Now, everything in the house that was there that I saw, which wasn't much, just the entertainment center, really. But nothing was familiar to me as far as belonging to my family that lived there in any way. And there was a TV there in this entertainment center, and looked like it was on some kind of a streaming service. It was almost like a computerized, like a streaming service display screen kind of thing. And the show was ending, and I was thinking, oh, I'm here. I wonder what's in the rest of the house. I wonder how the rest of the house looks. And so I was thinking about heading that way into the rest of the house, but I was getting this feeling like the house wasn't totally empty. And I didn't know if I wanted to go and find out who or what else was there. I wasn't sure I was ready for that. So I just stayed in that room, and eventually the show ended. And I was thinking, oh, I should turn this off, which is odd because I knew I wasn't home. But I was thinking, oh, I should turn this off. But then I looked at it, and I couldn't figure out how. And that's when everything started to fade. And I woke up, and the show really had ended. When I woke up or came out of it, the show was over. There was no audio. So yeah, I really don't know what to make of that one. But it happened, and there was that hyper-realistic feeling that it was more than a dream. So it's really odd, and it was also odd because it was similar to an out-of-body experience, but also odd because no one was wearing any kind of the appropriate clothes for winter, and they were all carrying, like, a lot of them were carrying plates and cups, like it was a party of some kind. So if it was an out-of-body or some kind of similar thing, I had not traveled to the current time in that location, or the current, the way things were, because I also didn't see any snow anywhere either when I looked outside. And this was in February. This was, so there was snow out there, sure. So yeah, that's basically that experience. I think that covers it as far as recent experiences go. Other than just the bumps and the bangs here and there, that's been about it. That and sensing, like, it's really interesting now at this point. A lot of times when I hear these things, I get a sense of, like, oh, that's just the heater, or oh, that came from nowhere. Um, that came from nowhere. I feel like there was something or someone behind that. So I don't know. Apox says, I wonder if the house is an ongoing metaphor or something specific for you. Like it could symbolize the future or the past. Seems like you may be actually connecting to the house, but is the timing significant? Yeah, and I don't know. It'd be interesting if I ever got to go there again someday. I mean, I would love to do that and check it out now. I mean, back when everything first happened there, um, I was scared by everything that happened, and I had this idea that maybe something, whatever was there might not be good, and I think there was. I don't know. I can't really go into a lot of detail. I don't know that everything there was good. I don't know that everything there was bad either. There was probably, very much possibly a mix of both. Just based on my experiences there. Um, so yeah, it's odd. I'd still at this point would like to go there someday and check it out and see how it feels and all of that. So, but that looks like that'll do it as far as time goes for this episode. Talking about timing. Tomorrow night, like I said, I will go over some of my experiences with this with local paranormal investigation events, and I don't know if the group is still active, so I won't have any links to share, but it should still be fun to talk about it, and it has some dream connections too, so that should be good. So, thank you all for being here, and I will talk to you all tomorrow night on the next episode of Salcedo Paranormal. Take care.